there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mia and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And so today I am bringing you a very late podcast episode of all of my February makes as well as acquisitions. I want to start off by saying that I recently got Invisalign in my teeth. So if I have a little bit of a lisp, that is why. Hopefully it's not too bad. Also, it's been a while since I have sat in front of the camera, so I am a little rusty because I actually filmed both of my February videos at the very beginning of the month and just, pre-scheduled them. So it's been like a month and a half since I sat down in front of the camera, so hopefully everything goes well. So welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. I am going to take you through my makes for February as well as any whips that I have, acquisitions, and then my March making plans. Although at this point, when I'm recording this video and when you guys are seeing it, we're pretty much almost halfway through March, but such is life. Usually this video would have gone out last Sunday, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling well the week before to do recording, so now is when it is going out. So I'll start off by mentioning what I'm wearing, which I'm wearing the Tanya by Caitlin Hunter, and I'll insert a picture of the full top here for you all. But I knit this in Barocco Remix, which is a 100% recycled yarn, which is really cool, which is why I loved it. It's labeled as a DK, but it's really more of a light DK, heavy fingering weight yarn. And actually I have some here that I had purchased that I'm planning on using to make the anchor by Petite Knit. And so it is 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. And so it's a pretty cool yarn because it's 100% recycled from mill ends. So this is none of this is new material. And the cool thing is with the colors, this isn't dyed yarn. The colors are actually made in the process of making the yarn because they're taking all types of different already dyed fabrics to make the yarn. So I thought that was pretty cool concept, and the yarn is really nice and it's a really soft, and even though it does have some acrylic in it, obviously it's recycled, so it's better than brand new acrylic in the environment. So that's what I'm wearing today. So getting right into the finished objects, just because I have a massive pile in front of me. So, and I always say that these episodes are going to be short and they always end up being long, but such is life. So the first project that I finished in the month was actually a test knit for Paola Lemay of Jojo Tricot. And so she put out a tester call, and I have tested a pattern for her in the past, and so this was just a beanie pattern. It's called the Agnes beanie pattern, and it's a really pretty, just nice bold rib. So it's a 3x5 rib, and so she put out this test call, and I knew that I had tons of Plotulopi in my stash, so I was like, I'll apply, and hats are super fast, and so I made this holding the ivory beige, which is the 1038, doubled with the white, which I believe is the number 1. Because I still had a little bit of the white left over from my Wild Posy hat that I made, and then I had tons of the ivory beige left over. As I mentioned in my last podcast, I ended up having tons of ivory beige left over for my Wild Posy jumper. So I knit up this hat really quickly. It was really fun make. And I'll insert a picture here that my sister took of me wearing this hat when we went on a hike. It's just a really nice basic hat. And then what I love about the pattern is that it actually goes from newborn all the way to adult male. So you can really make it for everyone in your family. And Rob has already actually requested one, so I'm going to be making his out of the Plotilope leftovers from my Aido wrap, the darker colors. So I'm planning on making one for him as well, although it's probably not going to happen until the fall, since here in the Northeast we're kind of already heading into spring. Although we did have snow yesterday, and very heavy snow here actually in northern New Jersey. It was just like forecasted to be a wintry mix, and it actually did stick here, but I know that like my friends in the city, it didn't stick at all and they barely got any snow. So that kind of shows you like it depends on where you are. Even though I'm half an hour outside of the city, I am in the mountains. So we got a lot of snow here. I think we got an inch, and then even further north where like my husband works, they actually got 4 inches of snow. So it was pretty crazy, but it's very warm today, so everything is melting. So that's just the nature of spring in the Northeast. You know, we have 70-degree weather one day and snow the next day. But I digress. My next finished object for the month was the Sempasuchi top, which I have mentioned several times here on the podcast. And I have posted this on Instagram, and I'll insert a picture of me wearing it. But I knit this one in Knit Picks Gloss, which is a merino silk blend. It is non-superwash. And so I actually have to, I don't know if anyone else does this, but like when there's no short row shaping, I definitely put tags in the back. But until I do so, I just put a little stitch marker there so I know what the back is, because I have been wearing this. I just haven't gotten around to sewing in my tag. But did I mention who this is designed by? This is designed by Magali McDonald of the Knit Yorker. And it's just this beautiful short sleeve, slightly cropped, textured top. And it is a raglan top, but is knit bottom up. And the nice thing is although the sleeves are super short, you do knit the sleeves first and then the body, which I always do in patterns that are bottom up anyway, even if the pattern doesn't tell you to do so, just to get them out of the way. Also, knitting the sleeves first is a nice way to get away with not swatching if you are adventurous enough. So your sleeves can act as a gauge swatch. If you're knitting a bottom up one piece like a top. And so I made this in the 5th size. It is a size inclusive pattern, and I'll have the information to my Ravelry and everything so you guys can see everything that I used. But I used, I think, like 5.5 hanks of the Knit Picks Gloss on a size 4 US 4 needle. So I did have to size up. The pattern calls for a 3mm, which is in between a 2 and a 3, I believe. But I did use a size 4, which I believe is 3.5mm. But again, my link to the Ravelry page will be below so you guys can see the details on that one. So this was the second item that I finished for the month, and I wore it on our recent trip to Savannah and Hilton Head Island when we went down to visit our grandparents. And I got that lovely picture that I just posted here. My husband got that lovely picture during golden hour when we were lighthouse hopping. We always like to go see lighthouses whenever we're anywhere new. So that was my second FO for the month. I did have a third finished object. However, that was a sample knit, or is a sample knit, for Barocco. So I am on their sample knitting roster, and so I cannot share that pattern with you all, but once the pattern is released, it's part of their fall collection, which I believe will be released sometime in the summer. So once that pattern is released, I'll post it to my Instagram so you all can see that. But it was a sample knit in the Barocco Lanas Quick yarn, which is a 100% wool chunky yarn. And actually this sort of came at the perfect timing, because I think I'd mentioned on my previous podcast episode when I made the Carbeth that I really wanted to make another one, and in a more natural yarn, because I did use the Lion Brand Hue and Me, which is lovely to knit with, but it is a mostly acrylic yarn. So I was thinking about different yarns that I had used or haven't used, or potentially wanted to use, and so after swatching up with that yarn, I think that that's the one that I'm going to go with. It is a 100% wool, as I mentioned, non-superwash, and it is so lovely to work with. It's very soft, it blooms beautifully, has very good stitch definition. I actually made a cabled cardigan out of that yarn, so I think that that is what I'm going to make my next Carbeth out of, hopefully in the fall again, because now that we're going into the spring, I have more like wraps and cardigans on my mind because, of the transitional weather. So that takes me into, or actually I have another FO, which is not a knit item. It is a sewing piece. However, it is knitting related, and it is the Firefly Tote, and by Noodlehead Patterns, I believe. And so this is the beautiful tote bag. I made the project bag size just because I wasn't sure. I feel like I can never visualize how big a finished object is going to be in terms of like tote bags and things like that when I'm sewing. Even though like I like take out my ruler and I think I'm like, okay, well this is a I just, for whatever reason, I can never visualize well. So this pattern comes in a project bag size as well as a tote bag size. And so the project bag size is good for like your medium sized projects, and then the tote bag size would be good for larger projects like sweater sizes. And so, sorry, I have hair everywhere. And so I made the project bag size just because I thought it was going to be fine, but turns out that I have quite a few bags that are this size already, so I want to make the tote bag size because I really wanted a bigger bag that can fit my sweater quantity worth of yarn. So ultimately this one is actually going to go to my mom, because you can actually use it as a lunch bag, especially because I used fusible batting as the lining for my outside pieces, so it's really nice and sturdy. But yeah, this was, let's see, this is just cotton canvas for the main fabric, and then this is another sort of heavyweight cotton for the accent fabric, and it's really nice because it has this zipper pocket here, and then it has another larger pocket right behind it. It has this little straps, and it has this really cute drawstring closure, and then it does have another pocket on the inside. So it's pretty roomy in there. I'm not sure how well you guys can see in there, but yeah, so I made this little bag, this little tote bag, which ultimately I'm going to gift to my mom, and then I'm going to make the tote bag size for myself. So that is my last finished object of the month. So on to whips, and I'm checking my phone to make sure that I don't miss anything. Yep. On to whips, I currently have 2 on the needles that I'm hoping to get off pretty quickly, because I signed up for some test knitting, which, famous last words, I know at the end of the year I said I wasn't gonna sign up for any test knitting this year, but I did. So first up, this is the Felix cardigan by Amy Christophers, and I am making it in Newton in the Loose colorway. It's hard to say that now with my Invisalign in. So I am making, I believe, the 4th size. So not the largest size, but the one before. So I believe it's the 4th size. And I have actually finished the body. So now I just have to do my ribbing and button band and then the sleeves. This cardigan has pretty much knit itself. This is about 4 or 5 days worth of knitting, pretty continuously. I mean, it does have purling. If it was knit in the round, I think I would probably already have this done. And that actually is probably one thing that if I do make this again, which I probably will, because this is pretty much a pretty staple, simple cardigan pattern, I will probably knit this in the round and then just steek the front, just to avoid purling. Not that purling is the worst, but you know. So yeah, so far I have gone through a little bit over 200 grams of the Newton, and this was part of my first order that I ever placed with them. I placed an order for 2 different colorways, and so this color actually appears a lot different in person than it did in the pictures, and I think, I'm not sure how well it's picking up here because again, it's cloudy outside and I don't have natural lighting. But it has a lot of like pinks and yellows and oranges and grays. It's a really pretty color. It kind of like reminds me of like mother of pearl. And so, what was I saying? Felix cardigan, Amy Christophers, Newton use, and hopefully I will have this finished by the end of the month. Again, especially since we're in transitional weather, so it's perfect for that. And then the second whip that I have for the month is my little project bag, the triangular triangles. So I think I showed, I hauled the yarn in my last podcast episode, which is the Kelborn Woolens Andorra in the color Mushroom. And so this was my knitting that I took on our trip. So it was like plain knitting, car ride knitting, all that. And I got through 4 of the hanks on the trip. And so this is the 5th one that I just joined, right about over here. So I just joined the 5th one, and so I'm hoping to also have this one done by the end of this month because my mom's birthday is next month. So this is what it's looking like. I have a few ends to weave in, and then of course this blocks out beautifully. But yeah, the triangular triangles, Purl Soho, my second time making this pattern. Not making any modifications or anything. I'm using a size 5 US 5 needles for this project. So those are my two whips. In terms of my acquisitions, I have not too many, just because a lot of the yarn that I've ordered just hasn't come in, unfortunately. So I will start with my Nutrigen order, which was the first thing that I received this month. And so I have some of the use balled up here. I'm not sure how well it's showing up on camera, but this is that. It's really pretty. I think I have one plate. This is what it looks like in the plate. So I think you can sort of see all the different colors that are in there. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful color, and it's so soft. It's so soft. I'm just like, I'm so obsessed with this yarn. And once again, Chrissy Cat, my little cat, who loves natural unspun fibers or minimally processed fiber, is obsessed with this and wants to sleep on it all the time. So I got, I bought 500 grams of the use, and I also bought 500 grams of Vasen, which is, let me show you a pretty one. So this beautiful color. And so this is like a beige with a purple base. So it does have a lot of flecks of purple in there. And it's just like so light and pillowy. It's just like a beautiful natural color. And so out of this one, I'm actually planning on making the Wild Posy, not the Flora, the Luna version. So the one with the wrap stitches in the cropped. Because if you all recall, when I made my Wild Posy Flora, I actually lengthened the body. So I do want to make a cropped version. So I have 500 grams of this one, which I believe I shouldn't need more than 400 grams, but we'll see. In any case, I probably will have a little bit left over, and then we'll see what I'll do. Maybe I might like double these two together and see how that looks and knit something out of it, like a hat or something. Who knows? It's just so pretty. And I did become a patron of Honor Akier. I'm sure I'm butchering their name. So I did actually already place the March order for 2 of the March colors, which I'm really excited about. And then I probably need to like go on a little bit of a yarn fabric diet, because I did spend a lot of money on yarn in the last month or so. So that was my Nutrigen that I bought. And then when we were in Savannah, I stopped by the local knitting shop down there, which I have been before. And oh my God, I completely just blanked on her name. Let me pull her up. The Frayed Knot. And I believe the owner's name is Jennifer, and I actually am planning on doing a little bit of a vlog, a springtime vlog on a few things that I've been up to recently as a bonus episode. And I do have footage of me being in her shop, which is absolutely beautiful. And so I've been to her shop before, and recently she actually moved locations, which is a good thing that I actually looked her up, because otherwise we would have gone to the old location, and she's still on the same street, but like in a different part of the neighborhood. And so I picked up some yarn when I was there for, this is going to be the Half and Half Triangles Wrap by Pearl Soho. And so the yarn I picked up is Life in the Long Grass, Hinterland. which is a 75% BFL, 25% Gotland. And I picked it up in the colors Myrrh and Madder Rubio. So these are the two colors. I think this is showing up a little bit orange on screen. This one's showing up pretty true to color. Let me see. But this is like a deep reddish pink. So, oh, that's a little closer. They're beautiful colors, and so these two together are going to be the half and half triangle strap. So I believe those are all my acquisitions. Again, looking at my list here, taking a sip of water. Yeah, so those are my yarn acquisitions. I also ended up buying a yarn bowl. I wanted to buy a yarn bowl forever, and you know, between like whenever I go to buy one, either I'm like, oh, this is expensive, am I really gonna use it? Or just like, you know, a lot of the times when you're using a cake, you just, you know, pull straight from the middle, or if you're using a skein, you pull straight from the middle. I very rarely ball things, but working with Nutrident, it actually became very obvious that I need to actually ball and pull from the outside. So I was like, I definitely need to get a yarn bowl. And I happened to have a coupon for Joann Fabrics, and they actually have these beautiful yarn bowls, and I ended up getting this one 50% off. So while, you know, it's always great to support small businesses, sometimes, you know, when you've bought a lot of yarn, you also need to sort of, you know, budget a little bit. So I bought this beautiful yarn bowl. It is 100% beechwood, so it's like very heavy, and then it has a lid. I actually have my measuring tape and some needle stops that I had in there. But so this is and it has the two more holes for the color work, and you know, your regular, and then it has this nice little lid. So I bought this a week or so ago, right around the time that I started knitting the Felix, because I had the yarn going everywhere, and then the cats were chasing the yarn, which is not a good thing. So that was that. And then I do have some fabric acquisitions because, so as I mentioned, I made the Firefly tote, and I wanted to make another one for myself. So I went to Joann today actually to pick up some more fabric for the tote. And then while I was there, they're having like a massive like spring summer sale, and so all of their cottons and all of their linens are crazy marked down. And so I did pick up some fabric. So I picked up fabric for the tote, which is actually like really far away from me right now. And it's like laid out because I've already prepped it and ironed it, so I didn't want it to get wrinkled. So you all will just have to see that fabric when I post it. But I think I might do a video. I might do like a sewing type video coming up as a bonus for March, or no, we're in March. For April, because I do have a few little sewing projects, so it won't be like a sew along video, but it might just be like a day in the life sewing type situation, because I do have a few sewing projects that I need to bang out in the next week or so. But I digress. The fabric. I bought 3 fabrics that I'm going to show you all. The first is, so here's the thing. Again, I went in just for the fabric for the tote bags, and I really try not to buy fabric, especially when I don't have a project in mind, because unlike knitting where you more or less know how much you need for a sweater's quantity of something, or how much you need for you know, a wrap or anything like that, with sewing it really depends pattern to pattern, what size you're making. You know, the yardages required are very intense and can be skewed very differently. So I try never to buy fabric without a project in mind. In that case, in any case, if I ever do get into that situation, my sort of go-to is 4 yards. So usually I can get away with 3 yards for most patterns that I'm making, but if I'm making something with like a fuller skirt, like a wrap skirt or something like that, I might need more, or if I want to make like a midi length as opposed to a short. So again, I try not to buy fabric without a pattern in mind, but I did that. And so I'm going to show you what I bought. So the first is this mauve colored linen. That's actually showing up pretty well on the camera right now. And this is 100% linen, which is the main reason why I purchased it. And their linen was on sale for $10 a yard, which is why I could not leave the store without this fabric. So this is normally $23 a yard, because of course linen, you know, is expensive. And so, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So I bought 4 yards of this, although I will use all of it, but I think on my way home, I decided that I want to make a peppermint peplum top, a dress hack out of this, because I have 2 pattern versions of it, but I don't have a plain version, and I think it'll be really nice in just a solid plain fabric. And the 2 versions that I have are out of quilter's cotton. So I bought this. So that's ultimately what this fabric is going to be made into. And I think I usually use around 3 yards for that pattern, if I remember correctly, and then I'll have like a yard left over to make, you know, probably like a tank top or something. So that's this. Then the other 100% linen, which is actually like the same weight linen, but this one is patterned. And so this is, this is showing, oh, that's better. So it's like a mustardy yellow with this beautiful floral pattern. Again, 100% linen. Oh, when I hold it up to my skin, it's like showing very yellow, but it's more mustard. Truer to tone when I showed it closer to the camera. So with this one, again, I got 4 yards. It's 100% linen. It was $9.99 a yard. And this one I'm either going to make a midi length skirt for spring summer, or I'm going to make a wrap dress. So again, this is one that I will likely have leftovers of. So right now, like my wrap dress that I've been making is the Rose Claire dress, and that one uses 3 yards. And I'm actually currently testing a skirt for Megan Nielsen. So I'm thinking of, I already have like the version that I'm gonna test, but I think you can make like a short version or a midi length version, and I think I might make 2 versions of the skirt. So this is either going to be a wrap dress or a skirt. In either case, it'll probably use about 3 yards of it with another yard, you know, just to make a tank top or a little 1 yard project. And then the last fabric is, this is actually the first fabric that I saw that I got. This beautiful cotton shirting with a really pretty pattern on it. Can't really see the pattern very well, I think, but it's just a blue cotton shirting. It's 100% cotton. And this is like my go-to summer color. Actually, these are both my go-to summer colors. So pretty much all of my summer clothes are blue or mustard. So I got 4 yards of this one, and I'm thinking that this one I want to make more of a simple dress. So something like the Darling Rages by Megan Nielsen, which I've made a few times, or the Fen dress by Fancy Tiger Crafts, I believe, which I've also made before. So I want to make more of like a simple sort of shirt gathered dress, or maybe even the Mina from Seamwork. But I'm thinking more the Fen for this one, the Fen dress. So those are my fabric acquisitions. And let's see. Oh, the video's not too long today. I think we're at 30 some odd minutes. So yeah, so that is, those are my FOs, whips, acquisitions. And then I guess I'll walk you through some of my March making plans. Obviously, we're halfway through March by the time that you're seeing this. But you know, we still have like 3 more weeks to go. I think March is a 5-week month or something like that. So in terms of my whips, I do hope to finish both of them, the Felix as well as the triangular triangles. And then, as I mentioned, I have the Megan Nielsen test. So that is a sewing project that I will need to finish, and that one has to be finished this month. It's due on the 23rd. So I actually just finished sewing my toile. So I'm planning on sewing the first version of the skirt this weekend, so I can send off my notes, and then I'll have some time to sew the second version of the skirt, because I feel like usually she has about 3 to 4 months lead time before she actually publishes a pattern. So I'll be able to get the second version sewed up, take pictures of it, and send it to her for a feature. So those are 3 projects, and then I have 2 more projects that I'm planning on working on this month. Both of them are test knits. So I know I mentioned last year I wasn't gonna sign up for any test knits this year, and so far I've done 2 test knits, and now I've signed up for 2 more test knits. But again, you know, when I get really excited about these patterns, you know, I just got really excited. And then I am being a lot more mindful about how many tests I'm signing up for, so that I'm not feeling overwhelmed. So the first test knit is the Wilderness pullover by Fiber Tales, Lyrica. And so this is a textured yoke, oversized long sleeve pullover, and it's knit in fingering weight yarn, and I'm actually going to be using Knit Picks palette, which is coming in the mail. I should have brought up my swatch, but it's downstairs. I have some Knit Picks palette in my stash, so I actually have a lighter color as well that I used for something else. Actually, I used it for my High Desert yoke. So I had some of the natural color left over, and I used that to swatch, and I got gauged, so I went ahead and ordered some of the palette for that. And I don't recall what color I ordered it in, but I ordered for that, and I am making the 5th size for that one, maybe. I don't remember. But, you know, I'll have whip pictures and things like that. And so both of the tests that I'm knitting, and why I signed up for 2 and why I signed up for them anyway, they're both 2-month-long tests. So the Wilderness is due at the end of April. And then the other one, which I'm knitting, which is the Pretty Basic Ruffle Raglan by Homebody Fibers, Melissa George. That one is due at the beginning of May. And so that one is a short sleeve raglan with like a really pretty ruffle detail along the raglan increases. And so that one is actually designed in Knit Picks palette. So I also ordered some palette for that one in a more summery color. And so besides the fact that that is just a beautiful basic raglan, you know, top that I can, it's knit on a larger gauge, so even though it's a fingering weight yarn, it's knit on a larger gauge, I can whip it up very quickly. It's also just like a beautiful summer top. So that is the plan. So that one, the plan is to get through the body of both of those, and then in April finish the sleeves on both of those. So those are my knitting plans for the rest of the month until you all see the next podcast episode at the beginning of April. So that was a lot as usual, and hopefully my lisp doesn't sound too bad on camera, and hopefully I mean I was all over the place, but hopefully you guys have come to know that about me by now. But I was a little rusty sitting in front of the camera. But yeah, I hope that you all enjoyed sitting with me and seeing all that I've been up to recently. My next episode, which will be next week as planned. So as you all, if you watched my first video of the year, I did mention I was going to release every other week. So next week's episode, which is when my second March episode would have originally been scheduled to go out, will still go out on schedule. And so I'm planning to do another free pattern episode for that one. So it won't be a podcast episode, or really will just be, you know, free knitting patterns. I might even throw in some sewing patterns, or maybe I'll do a separate sewing pattern video. I'm not sure. I started pulling up some patterns already, so I will see how many I come up with, and then decide from there. So you'll see that. And then I'm also planning on posting a little bonus vlog the week after, just a few things that I've been up to between our trip down south and sort of some hiking and some knitting and some spring things that we've been doing here as the weather has been warming up. Just a little bit of a vlog so you all can get to know me a little bit. And then in April we have, you know, our normally scheduled content from there. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video, this little sit down. I hope that I didn't ramble too much and that I made some sense to you all, and that you're having a good March so far. The beginning of the year is always a little weird. You know, you have January, which is like really everyone's excited about. February always like sort of goes by in a blink of an eye, and then March kind of is just like, oh, we don't really have anything going on in March. So hopefully you all are enjoying the season changes, if the seasons change where you live. I know here in the Northeast we're going into spring. I know in the Southern Hemisphere they're going into fall. So hopefully you're enjoying everything that comes with the season changes, which I definitely am, even though it's still a little erratic here where I live in New Jersey. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.